Mr. Alexander Grant was not your typical billionaire. Yes, he owned luxurious homes, expensive cars, and businesses worth billions. But none of these things brought him happiness. After losing his wife years ago, Alexander had thrown himself into work, building his empire while isolating himself from the world. His massive mansion felt more like a museum than a home, filled with silence and emptiness. To keep the house running smoothly, he hired Sophia, a quiet and hard-working young woman in her mid-20s. She arrived every morning before sunrise, cleaning, cooking, and ensuring everything was perfect before Alexander woke up. Despite her demanding schedule, Sophia always greeted him with a warm smile, though they rarely spoke beyond polite exchanges. One evening, unable to sleep due to another restless night, Alexander wandered through the dimly lit halls of his mansion. As he passed the kitchen, he noticed a faint glow coming from inside. Curious, he peeked in and saw Sophia sitting at the table, surrounded by books and papers. Her brow was furrowed in concentration, and she scribbled notes furiously under the soft light of a desk lamp. Alexander froze, surprised. He had never seen this side of her before. To him, Sophia was just the diligent maid who kept his home spotless. But here she was, poring over textbooks and assignments late at night after completing her exhausting duties. What was she doing? Why was she studying so hard? And why hadn't she told anyone? Questions swirled in his mind as he quietly retreated to his room, leaving her undisturbed. For the first time in years, something stirred within him, a mix of curiosity and admiration. Little did he know, this discovery would change both their lives forever. The next morning, Alexander couldn't stop thinking about what he had seen. Sophia's late-night studying intrigued him, but it also confused him. Why would someone in her position dedicate so much time and effort to learning when she already worked such long hours? Throughout the day, he found himself watching her more closely. Not in a suspicious way, but with genuine curiosity. She moved through the house quietly and efficiently, never complaining despite the heavy workload. When their paths crossed, she greeted him warmly as usual, seemingly unaware that he knew her secret. Finally, one evening after dinner, Alexander decided to confront her. He waited until she finished tidying up the dining room, then approached her cautiously. "Sophia," he began, his tone gentle but firm. "Can I speak with you for a moment?" She turned to face him, startled by the unexpected request. "Of course, Mr. Grant. Is everything all right?" He gestured toward the living room. "Let's sit down." Once they were seated, Alexander hesitated, unsure how to broach the topic without making her uncomfortable. "I happened to notice something last night," he said finally. "You were in the kitchen working on books or papers. What was that all about?" Sophia froze, her face flushing red. For a moment, she didn't respond, clearly caught off guard. Then, lowering her gaze, she stammered, "It's nothing important, sir. Just personal things." "It didn't look like nothing," Alexander pressed gently. "In fact, it looked quite serious. Are you taking classes? Studying for something?" Sophia sighed, realizing there was no point in denying it. Slowly, she nodded. "Yes, sir. I'm pursuing an online degree in engineering. But please don't worry, it doesn't interfere with my work here. I make sure everything is done properly before I start." Alexander leaned back in his chair, stunned. Engineering? This young woman scrubbing floors and washing dishes dreamed of becoming an engineer? "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked softly. Her eyes widened in alarm. "I didn't think you'd approve, sir. People like me aren't supposed to dream big, are we? Besides, I didn't want anyone to think I wasn't focused on my job. People like me." Those 3 words struck a chord deep within Alexander. He realized how much courage it must have taken for her to pursue her education under such difficult circumstances, and how much fear she carried about being judged. "Sophia," he said firmly, meeting her gaze, "there's nothing wrong with dreaming big. In fact, I admire your determination. How long have you been doing this?" "For 2 years now," she admitted quietly. "I take online courses whenever I can. It's slow going because I have to balance work and caring for my mom. But I won't give up. Becoming an engineer has been my dream since I was a little girl. Her voice trembled slightly, betraying the depth of her emotions. Alexander felt a lump form in his throat. Here was a woman who refused to let life crush her spirit. A woman who worked tirelessly not just to survive, but to build a better future for herself and her family. "And your mother?" he asked carefully. "She's sick," Sophia explained, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Medical bills are piling up, so I've been working extra shifts to cover them. That's why I need this job. It pays well enough to keep us afloat while I study." Alexander sat silently for a moment, absorbing her story. He thought about his own privileged life, how easy it had been for him to achieve success compared to the uphill battle Sophia faced daily. "You're remarkable," he said finally, his voice filled with admiration. "Most people would have given up by now. But you keep fighting." Sophia smiled faintly, though embarrassment still lingered in her expression. "Thank you, sir. That means a lot." As she excused herself to return to her duties, Alexander remained seated, lost in thought. Something inside him shifted that night. For years, he had lived in isolation, disconnected from the struggles of others. But Sophia's resilience reminded him of the power of dreams and the importance of helping those brave enough to chase them. Little did either of them know, this conversation marked the beginning of a transformative journey for both of them. After their conversation, Alexander couldn't shake the image of Sophia sitting at the kitchen table late at night, her tired eyes scanning textbooks while fatigue weighed heavily on her shoulders. He found himself thinking about her throughout the day, her determination, her sacrifices, and the sheer willpower it must take to juggle work, caregiving, and studies all at once. Driven by curiosity and a growing sense of admiration, Alexander decided to learn more about her life outside his mansion. One afternoon, as she cleaned the living room, he approached her casually. "Sophia," he began, "can I ask you something personal?" She paused mid-wipe, turning to face him with a mixture of caution and curiosity. "Of course, sir. What is it?" "Tell me about your dream," he said simply. "Why engineering? And how did you keep going when things got tough?" Sophia hesitated, unsure whether to open up fully. But there was sincerity in Alexander's voice, a kindness she hadn't expected from someone like him. Slowly, she set the cleaning cloth aside and sat down on the edge of the couch. "When I was little," she began softly, "my dad used to fix things around the house. Broken appliances, leaky pipes, anything that needed repair. He wasn't trained or anything, but he loved figuring out how things worked. I'd sit beside him for hours, handing him tools and asking questions. By the time I was 10, I could disassemble and reassemble our old radio without any help." Her eyes lit up as she spoke, recalling memories long buried beneath years of hardship. "That's when I decided I wanted to be an engineer, to create machines and systems that solve real-world problems. My parents encouraged me, telling me I could achieve anything if I worked hard enough." Her smile faded slightly as she continued. "But then my dad passed away unexpectedly when I was 14. After that, money became tight. Mom did her best to support us, but we barely scraped by. When she fell ill a few years ago, I dropped out of college to take care of her and pay the bills. That's when I started working here, and studying online whenever I could find time." Alexander listened intently, his chest tightening with every word. The weight of her responsibilities was staggering. Not only was she shouldering the burden of medical expenses, but she was also fighting against societal expectations that often dismissed people like her as unworthy of big dreams. "And yet you haven't given up," he remarked quietly. "Most people would have crumbled under that kind of pressure." "I almost did," Sophia admitted, her voice trembling. "There were nights when I cried myself to sleep, wondering if it was all pointless, if I'd ever escape this cycle of struggle. But then I'd think about my dad, and the promise I made to myself to finish what I started. So I kept going one step at a time." Her vulnerability moved Alexander deeply. Here was a woman who had faced unimaginable challenges yet refused to surrender her hope for a better future. It made his own struggles feel insignificant in comparison. Over the next few days, Alexander observed her routine more closely. She woke before dawn, prepared breakfast for her mother, commuted to work, spent hours cleaning and organizing his home, and returned to her small apartment late at night to study until the early hours of the morning. The sheer exhaustion etched into her features broke his heart. Something inside him shifted. For years, he had lived comfortably within the confines of his wealth, disconnected from the realities of those less fortunate. But Sophia's story forced him to confront the privileges he had taken for granted, and the responsibility that came with them. One evening, after she finished tidying up the kitchen, Alexander called her over. "Sophia," he said, his tone serious but gentle, "I want to help you." Her eyes widened in surprise. "Help me, sir? With what?" "Everything," he replied firmly. "Your education, your mother's medical bills, all of it. You shouldn't have to carry this load alone." She shook her head quickly, panic flashing across her face. "No, Mr. Grant, I can't accept that. I don't want charity." "It's not charity," he countered. "It's investment in someone who deserves every chance to succeed. Look at everything you've accomplished despite the odds. Imagine what you could do with fewer obstacles in your way." Tears welled up in her eyes as conflicting emotions swirled within her. Pride warred with desperation. Gratitude battled fear. Finally, she whispered, "Why would you do this for me?" "Because I believe in you," he said simply. "And because helping you reminds me of why I built my business in the first place. Not just to accumulate wealth, but to make a difference." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, slowly, Sophia nodded. If you're sure," she murmured, her voice thick with emotion. "Thank you. More than I can say." As they parted ways for the night, Alexander felt a renewed sense of purpose. Helping Sophia wasn't just about easing her burdens. It was about rediscovering his own humanity. Together, they were embarking on a journey that promised to change both their lives forever. The following weeks marked the beginning of a new chapter in both Sophia's and Alexander's lives. True to his word, Alexander took immediate steps to ease Sophia's burdens. He arranged for her mother to receive top-notch medical care, covering all expenses without hesitation. This allowed Sophia to focus more on her studies and less on worrying about how to pay mounting bills. At first, Sophia felt uneasy accepting such generosity. She had spent years relying solely on herself, convinced that asking for help was a sign of weakness. But Alexander reassured her repeatedly, reminding her that everyone needed support sometimes, and that she had earned this opportunity through her relentless hard work. "I'm not doing this out of pity," he told her one evening as they discussed her progress. "I'm doing it because you inspire me. You remind me what it means to fight for something greater than yourself." His words struck a chord deep within her. Slowly, she began to accept his help, not as charity, but as a partnership rooted in mutual respect and shared goals. To further support her education, Alexander offered Sophia flexible working hours, allowing her to attend virtual lectures and complete assignments without rushing. He even converted a quiet corner of his library into a study space for her, complete with a desk, comfortable chair, and high-speed internet access. "You shouldn't have to cram your studies into late-night sessions anymore," he explained when she protested. "This is your home too, Sophia. Use it wisely." Grateful beyond measure, Sophia threw herself into her coursework with renewed energy. With fewer distractions and more resources at her disposal, she began excelling academically. Her professors praised her insightful contributions during online discussions, and her grades soared. Meanwhile, Alexander found himself increasingly invested in her success. He started reading up on engineering concepts so he could better understand her field of study. Occasionally, they'd discuss her projects over dinner, with Sophia explaining complex ideas in simple terms while Alexander listened intently. "It's fascinating," he admitted one night after she described a particularly challenging design problem she was solving. "You make it sound so logical, like putting together pieces of a puzzle." "That's exactly what it is," she exclaimed, laughing. "Except the stakes are higher if I mess up." Their shared enthusiasm created a bond neither had anticipated. What began as an employer-employee relationship evolved into something deeper, a friendship built on trust, encouragement, and admiration. As months passed, Alexander realized Sophia's potential extended far beyond academics. Her sharp mind, problem-solving skills, and leadership qualities made her stand out, not just as a student, but as a future professional. Determined to nurture her talents, he invited her to shadow him at his company, giving her first-hand experience in project management and team collaboration. "Think of it as training for your career," he said when she hesitated. "You'll learn valuable skills that will serve you well once you graduate." Sophia agreed, though nervously. Stepping into the corporate world felt daunting, especially given her background. But Alexander guided her every step of the way, introducing her to key figures in the industry and encouraging her to voice her opinions during meetings. To her surprise, people listened. Her innovative ideas and practical solutions impressed colleagues who initially underestimated her due to her modest demeanor. By the end of her first month interning, she had earned their respect and proven to herself that she belonged there. Back at home, their dynamic continued to shift. Sophia no longer saw Alexander as merely her employer. She viewed him as a mentor and friend who genuinely cared about her growth. In turn, Alexander found joy in mentoring her, watching her confidence grow with each passing day. One evening, as they sat together in the library, reviewing a presentation Sophia had prepared for an upcoming class, Alexander smiled warmly. "You've come so far, Sophia," he said. "Do you realize that? From juggling chores and studies in secret to standing tall among professionals. You're unstoppable." She blushed, brushing off the compliment shyly. "I couldn't have done any of this without your help, Mr. Grant. Truly, I owe you everything." "No," he corrected gently. "You owe me nothing. All I did was give you the tools. The rest, the determination, the brilliance, the heart, that's all you." Tears welled up in her eyes as she nodded. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to believe in her own potential, to see herself as someone capable of achieving greatness. Outside of academics and professional development, their bond strengthened through small, everyday moments. They shared meals, laughed over silly jokes, and occasionally reminisced about their respective pasts. Alexander spoke openly about his late wife, sharing memories that still brought him comfort. Sophia, in turn, talked about her father, whose love for tinkering had sparked her passion for engineering. These conversations helped them understand each other on a deeper level. They weren't just bridging the gap between wealth and poverty. They were connecting as two people navigating life's challenges, each carrying scars but finding solace in shared humanity. By the end of the year, Sophia had transformed in ways she never imagined possible. Her grades were impeccable, her internship glowing with praise, and her outlook brighter than ever. Meanwhile, Alexander rediscovered purpose in his otherwise lonely existence. Helping Sophia reignited his passion for making a difference, not just through financial contributions, but through meaningful connections. Together, they proved that kindness, when paired with determination, could create ripples of change that touched countless lives, including their own. As Sophia continued to thrive under Alexander's guidance, the transformation in her life became undeniable. Her hard work and dedication began paying off in ways she had only dreamed of. By the end of her third year of studies, she was consistently ranked at the top of her class, earning accolades from professors and peers alike. Her final project, a sustainable water filtration system designed for underprivileged communities, earned her a prestigious award and caught the attention of several major engineering firms. For Sophia, these achievements were more than just personal victories. They represented a triumph over years of struggle and self-doubt. Each milestone reminded her of how far she had come, from working long hours as a maid to being recognized as a future leader in her field. And through it all, Alexander stood by her side, cheering her on every step of the way. "You've proven yourself, Sophia," he told her proudly after she received news of her award. "Now the world will see what I've seen all along, that you're extraordinary." His words filled her with gratitude, but also humility. She knew none of this would have been possible without his unwavering support. and the sacrifices her mother had made along the way. Though her mother's health remained fragile, the improved medical care arranged by Alexander gave them hope for a brighter future. "Mom, we did it," Sophia whispered one evening, holding her mother's hand as tears streamed down her face. "All those late nights, all those struggles, they weren't for nothing. We're going to be okay." Her mother smiled weakly, squeezing her hand gently. "I always knew you'd make me proud, sweetheart. Never forget that." Meanwhile, Alexander found himself transformed too. For years, he had lived in isolation, numbing his pain with work and material success. But helping Sophia reignited something within him, a sense of purpose he hadn't felt since losing his wife. Watching her overcome obstacles and chase her dreams reminded him of the power of resilience and the importance of human connection. He began opening up more, not just to Sophia but to others around him. Friends noticed a change in his demeanor. Colleagues remarked on his renewed passion for innovation and mentorship. Inspired by Sophia's journey, he launched a scholarship program aimed at supporting students from disadvantaged backgrounds pursuing STEM careers. "This is for people like you," he explained to Sophia during the program's launch event. "People who need a little help to reach their full potential. You've shown me how much impact one person can have when given the right opportunities." Sophia beamed with pride, knowing she had played a part in inspiring such generosity. The scholarship program quickly gained traction, providing financial aid, mentorship, and internship opportunities to dozens of aspiring engineers across the country. Their bond deepened further as they worked together on various projects. Alexander often sought Sophia's input on business decisions, valuing her fresh perspective and innovative thinking. In return, Sophia learned invaluable lessons about leadership, strategy, and perseverance from a man who had built an empire from scratch. One day, while discussing plans for expanding his company's sustainability initiatives, Alexander turned to her with a thoughtful expression. "I've been thinking," he said slowly. "When you graduate, I want you to join my team, not as an intern, but as a full-time engineer. Your ideas are groundbreaking, and your work ethic is unmatched. Together, we could achieve incredible things." Sophia stared at him, stunned. "Are you serious? Me? Working alongside you?" "Absolutely," he replied firmly. "You've earned it, Sophia. Every bit of it." Overwhelmed with emotion, she accepted his offer, realizing this was the culmination of everything she had worked toward. For the first time in her life, she felt truly seen, not as a maid or a struggling student, but as a talented professional worthy of respect and opportunity. The ripple effects of their partnership extended beyond their personal lives. Within Alexander's company, Sophia's presence inspired positive changes. Employees admired her determination and resourcefulness, often seeking her advice on challenging projects. Her story spread throughout the organization, serving as a testament to the power of perseverance and the value of diversity in problem-solving. Outside of work, Sophia became a role model for young women pursuing careers in male-dominated fields. She frequently spoke at schools and community events, sharing her journey and encouraging others to dream big despite adversity. "Never let anyone tell you that your circumstances define your destiny," she would say during these talks. "Hard work and belief in yourself can take you farther than you ever imagined." Her message resonated deeply, especially among girls from low-income families who saw themselves in her story. Many reached out to thank her, crediting her courage with inspiring them to pursue their own dreams. For Alexander, seeing Sophia inspire others reinforced his belief in the importance of giving back. He began dedicating more time and resources to philanthropic endeavors, partnering with organizations focused on education, healthcare, and poverty alleviation. Together, he and Sophia became advocates for change, using their combined influence to uplift marginalized communities. Through it all, their relationship remained steadfast, a testament to the power of compassion and trust. They weren't just employer and employee, or even mentor and mentee. They were partners in every sense of the word, united by a shared mission to create a better world. As they looked toward the future, both knew their journey was far from over. There would still be challenges ahead, moments of doubt and uncertainty. But together, they faced those challenges head-on, confident in the knowledge that they had each other's backs. Because sometimes the greatest transformations happen not just within individuals, but between them. The day of Sophia's graduation arrived, a milestone neither she nor Alexander could have imagined when they first met. Standing in her cap and gown, surrounded by classmates and professors, Sophia felt a mix of emotions: pride, gratitude, and disbelief that she had finally reached this moment. As she walked across the stage to receive her diploma, the crowd erupted into applause. Among them was Alexander, seated proudly in the front row, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. He clapped louder than anyone else, his heart swelling with pride as he watched the woman who had once cleaned his floors now being celebrated for her brilliance and hard work. After the ceremony, Sophia found him waiting outside the auditorium, holding a bouquet of flowers. "For the graduate," he said with a wide smile, handing them to her. She laughed, hugging him tightly. "Thank you for everything. I couldn't have done this without you." "You did it all yourself," he replied softly. "I just gave you the tools. The rest was pure determination." That evening, they celebrated at Alexander's mansion, a small gathering of close friends, family, and colleagues. Sophia's mother attended too, frail but beaming with joy as she watched her daughter shine. It was a night filled with laughter, heartfelt speeches, and promises of even brighter days ahead. During dinner, Alexander stood up to say a few words. "Sophia isn't just my employee or protege," he began, raising his glass. "She's family. She reminded me what it means to fight for something greater than yourself, and to never underestimate the power of kindness. Tonight, we celebrate not just her achievements, but the beginning of a new chapter in both our lives." The room erupted into cheers, and Sophia wiped away tears, overwhelmed by the love and support surrounding her. In the weeks that followed, Sophia officially joined Alexander's company as a junior engineer. From her first day on the job, she proved herself invaluable, tackling projects with creativity and precision. Her sustainable water filtration system, once a class project, was developed further and implemented in several rural communities, earning widespread acclaim. Alexander continued mentoring her, guiding her through the complexities of corporate leadership while learning from her fresh perspective. Their partnership flourished, blending wisdom and innovation to drive meaningful change within the company and beyond. Outside of work, their bond remained strong. They spent weekends discussing ideas, sharing meals, and occasionally revisiting the library where Sophia had once studied late at night. Those quiet moments served as reminders of how far they'd come, and how much they still hoped to achieve together. One afternoon, as they sat side by side reviewing blueprints for a new project, Sophia turned to him with a thoughtful expression. "Do you ever think about how different things might have been if you hadn't caught me studying that night?" she asked softly. Alexander chuckled, shaking his head. "Honestly, I try not to, because then I wouldn't have gotten to know the incredible person sitting next to me, or witness firsthand what happens when resilience meets opportunity." Sophia smiled, warmth spreading through her chest. "Well, I'm glad you did catch me. Otherwise, I might still be hiding my dreams instead of living them. And I might still be stuck in my old ways," Alexander admitted. "Helping you changed me too, Sophia. You taught me that true wealth isn't measured in money. It's measured in the lives we touch and the legacies we leave behind." Years later, Sophia rose through the ranks to become one of the company's top engineers, spearheading groundbreaking initiatives that improved countless lives. Meanwhile, Alexander expanded his philanthropic efforts, using his influence to champion causes close to their hearts. Together, they became symbols of hope and transformation, proof that compassion can bridge even the widest gaps between people. Their story inspired others around the world, reminding everyone that no dream is too big and no obstacle too great when met with courage, determination, and kindness. Whether helping a struggling maid pursue her education or launching programs to uplift entire communities, Alexander and Sophia showed that even the smallest acts of generosity can create waves of change. And as they stood side by side, looking toward the future, they knew their journey was far from over. There were still challenges to face, innovations to create, and lives to impact. But whatever came next, they would face it together, as partners, as friends, and as family. Because sometimes the greatest transformations begin with a single act of belief in someone else and in oneself. If Sophia and Alexander's story inspired you, share it with others. Let us know in the comments. How has kindness or determination impacted your life? Your stories inspire us to keep creating tales that matter.